Hello everyone, my name is Melina Corona. I work for Build It Green, and I'll be presenting the Multifamily Pilot Program Orientation webinar for the PG&E Energy Upgrade California program. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join us on the line, so please wait a few more minutes. We'll start shortly. Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us this morning. This is the Energy Upgrade California Multifamily Pilot Program Orientation webinar for the PG&E program. My name is Melina Corona. I'll be presenting today's orientation webinar. I'm joined today by Liz Cordero. She's the program manager for the Multifamily Pilot Program. Do you want to say hi?
Hello everyone. Good morning.
She's going to help me field questions. Before we get started, I do want to just make a couple of announcements to those on the line. This webinar is being recorded, and a follow-up email with a link to the recording and a link to the slides will be sent, I think, early next week, and it will be sent to anyone who registered for the webinar. Attendance is mandatory for this orientation workshop webinar, so please stay the whole time. And then finally, we will be taking questions at the end of the webinar. So we ask that you utilize the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel. If you expand your GoToWebinar panel and then scroll down to the questions box, you can submit your questions throughout the presentation. This will field those and we'll take the questions at the end. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So the slide displaying right now is the agenda. Really briefly, we will be discussing the multifamily pilot overview and be talking about the structure of the program. We're going to be going through the participation steps for raters and contractors interested in this multifamily pilot, and then we'll talk briefly about the job submission process as well as the rebate processing. Then we'll conclude with the mentoring and quality assurance aspect of the program. We'll talk a little bit about health and safety, and then we'll display contact information, and we'll take questions at the end. So let's go ahead and go into the Multifamily Pilot Program overview. The Multifamily Pilot Program is anticipated to roll out in 3 phases. So currently we are in Phase 1. Phase 1 is a 500-unit pilot program. We launched it in February of this year, and we expect it to end at the end of 2013. We want to utilize the lessons we learned during this pilot program and utilize the best practices to execute Phase 2. This is anticipated to roll out in the 4th quarter of 2013 and then go into the 1st quarter of 2014. And then finally, we anticipate a territory-wide rollout in 2014. That will be the full program. Right now, the multifamily is in its pilot program stage. There are several pilot goals and objectives to this multifamily pilot program. This program seeks to promote the long-term energy benefits of home performance. And Build It Green and PG&E want to do this by leveraging these comprehensive energy assessments to identify cost-effective upgrades. And then we also help property owners maximize their savings by utilizing these assessments and then offering rebates for upgrades. The multifamily pilot program is, as I stated, a pilot program. So we'll be using this year to test the program design. We're hoping to test this design on a range of building configurations and climate zones. One primary objective is to identify those measures that are the most cost-effective in multifamily buildings. And then one unique feature of this pilot program is what we call the SPOC, or the single point of contact. We expect this single point of contact to optimize the access of a range of energy rebates that the single point of contact will communicate to the building owner or the building management office of those multifamily buildings. In addition to those goals that we just reviewed, we also expect that the multifamily pilot program will be integrated to existing PG&E programs like the ones listed here, the Energy Savings Assistance Program, the Multifamily Energy Efficiency Rebate Program, and the Middle Income Direct Install Program. We hope to offer comprehensive savings opportunities by coordinating with these programs as well as other financing pilots. And all this we hope will help inform the full program and the associated safety protocols, which we expect to be in place in 2014. So from all that work, we expect buildings that participate in this multifamily pilot program to achieve anywhere from 10 to 20% modeled site savings. We are going to do this through property owner education. We are going to try to motivate them to select a broader suite of measures, and we're going to be doing this by utilizing those relationships between homeowners and raters and contractors. And once again, I do just want to reiterate that a lot of the protocols during the program, like the safety protocols, are going to be fine-tuned using information that we gather during the pilot, so that we can roll all that stuff out in early 2014 during the full program. So let's talk now about the program structure for the multifamily pilot. I just want to do a quick reminder that for those that came in a little late, a follow-up email will be sent with the link to the recording and the slides. We'll be taking questions at the end. So the multifamily pilot program eligibility requirements are listed on this slide. Buildings in the pilot must receive natural gas and electricity service from Pacific Gas and Electric. Each building must have at least 5 units. Homes with propane within the combustion appliance zone are currently not eligible for the multifamily pilot. Affordable and market rate properties are eligible for this pilot program. And we expect property owners to work with participating pilot raters and pilot contractors enrolled in the multifamily pilot program. In addition, there are strict field quality assurance requirements. So Build It Green and PG&E, as well as the raters and contractors working on these buildings, must have access to all the units. Combustion appliance issues identified in the comprehensive energy assessment must be remediated. And then finally, work for this pilot program must be completed by December 2013. So with all that said, let's take a moment to review what's covered under this program. So in this program, we are looking for in-unit energy upgrades. We'll also consider common area upgrades as well as central system upgrades. The multifamily pilot program does not cover new construction, so this is a program for existing buildings. It's also for mixed use. It does not cover mixed-use multifamily properties, so we're talking about strictly residential. It also does not cover things like water efficiency or solar, or energy efficiency measures that cannot be modeled. And then finally, it does not cover single measure direct installs because a lot of those are covered by other programs. There are some energy modeling software requirements that are listed on this page. Modeling software in this program will be used to estimate the site energy savings achieved for these buildings. For low-rise 3 or fewer floor buildings, we'll be using Energy Pro, specifically the Res Performance module. For high-rise buildings, which are 4 or more floors, we'll be using the Energy Pro non-residential module. We do expect installation measure specifications to be provided. In addition, we'll also offer modeling software mentoring. That mentoring will be able to pilot contractors and pilot raters enrolled in the program. And then we also have assessment incentives as well as construction incentives in this multifamily pilot program. So incentives are offered at the assessment level. Incentive assessments cover a portion of not only the assessment at test in and test out, but also for any mitigations to the combustion appliance safety zone that may need to be fixed. The assessment incentive is intended to address those high upfront costs of determining these baseline conditions for the building. It's also an opportunity to educate property owners on the whole building approach. And then finally, assessment incentives cannot exceed the overall cost of the assessment. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there is an upgrade incentive. Incentives are based on a per unit basis. And we designed them, or I should say Build It Green or PG&E designed them to encourage whole building upgrades for both common areas and then also for individual units. Let's take a moment now to review the assessment incentive structure. The incentive structure is based on the number of units, and then it's broken up into 2 categories, market rate and affordable housing. For a unit or for a building that has 5 to 30 units, a market rate rebate would be $2,500, and then for affordable housing, that rebate would be $5,000. For buildings with units between 31 and 100, the market rate rebate is $5,000, and the affordable housing rebate is $10,000. And then for any building with 100 plus units, you receive $10 per unit or $20 per unit if the building is affordable. There is a special note about the 100 plus unit buildings. That rebate is per unit, but it's incremental, so it's added to the fixed incentive amount below it. Let's take a moment now to review the upgrade incentive structure. That rebate is determined based on post-improvement model savings. So anywhere between 10 to about 15% site savings modeled in Energy Pro would yield a $600 rebate. And then the rebates increase in increments of about 5%. The next incentive tier would yield $750. And then it looks like a savings of 40% or more would yield a $1,500 rebate. So we'll take a moment now to review the Raider and contractor participation steps. Before we do that, we do just want to reiterate that there are a number of benefits we foresee for both contractors and raters participating in the multifamily pilot program. This is an opportunity to deepen your professional expertise. We will be working closely with contractors and raters that enroll in the pilot program, and we'll be offering them comprehensive trainings as well as opportunities for mentoring. We also expect professionals in this program to be able to expand their service offerings, which means larger projects and potentially larger budgets. We do also want to help contractors and raters help their clients access a range of incentives as well as financing opportunities. But then we also expect pilot program raters and contractors to play an integral part in developing and then also shaping the program's design. Remember, we are in a pilot, and we will be working closely with those participants to develop the protocols we expect to roll out in 2014. Let's go now to review the Raider qualifications. The qualifications for participating raters are summarized on this slide. They are broken up into functions and minimum qualifications. There are qualifications for energy modeling and utility bill analyses, whole building energy audits and third-party verification, as well as combustion appliance safety. I do just want to reiterate that these slides will be available for review after the presentation. A follow-up email will be sent with these slides as well as a link to the recording, so you can review them at a later time. The energy modeling and utility data analysis does require one of the following minimum qualifications: HERS 2 or Resident Raider certification, a BPI multifamily building analyst, or a KBEC certified energy plans examiner. A rater who is either HERS 2 or Resident Raider has multifamily training, or is a Greenpoint Raider for existing multifamily will meet the whole building energy audit if they have 2 or more of those certifications. And then finally, the combustion appliance safety Raider qualification must be met by having a BPI building analyst certification. There are similar contractor license qualifications that we expect pilot contractors to fulfill. This table summarizes them. They are broken down into function and then minimum qualifications. Contractors must be proficient in HVAC system evaluation and testing, domestic hot water distribution and efficiency, structural evaluation, and then electrical system evaluation. Those minimum qualifications for each section are summarized on the right-hand side of the table. And then one special note, a CSLB or Contractor State License or B licensed contractor performing 2 or more specialty trade scope of work tasks is acceptable. Let's take a moment now to review the steps for participation. So there are currently raters enrolled in the Energy Upgrade California Single Family Program. We'll talk about raters and contractors currently enrolled in that program and what they need to do to meet the requirements for this multifamily pilot. What we'll do now is review the steps for participation for a new rater, brand new to the program. So raters new to the Energy Upgrade Program would submit an application. This would include qualifying documents like certifications and licenses, and they'd have to pass the screening and application process in order to participate in a 5-day training. It is a multifamily training that Build It Green puts on. Once that was completed, you would be expected to attend an orientation webinar and then agree to the participation agreement, which requires you to provide feedback in focus groups throughout the pilot program. Some of you on the line may have already taken the 5-day training and have submitted an orientation, an application, and so you're here attending this orientation webinar to fulfill that step. And some of you may have not. We'll talk about some of those requirements if you have additional questions, either at the end of this webinar or on the phone later. Steps for participation for an active EUC Raider are listed here. So these are raters that are currently involved in the Energy Upgrade California program for the single family or 2 to 4 unit program. They would not need to submit a new application. They would simply need to sign a multifamily pilot rater addendum. They would have to be properly credentialed for the scopes of work. They would also have to participate in the 5-day multifamily training or provide proof that they have that training already. They would also have to attend a webinar and then agree to the participation terms and conditions, which include providing feedback and participating in focus groups. Contractors new to the Energy Upgrade California program would have to submit an application, including evidence of their licenses and certifications. They'd also have to pass the screening process and then attend an orientation webinar. Contractors in the multifamily pilot and then also in the multifamily full program we expect to roll out in 2014 must work with the participating rater. And then they also have to agree to the program terms and conditions, which includes providing feedback in focus groups. And then participating contractors currently enrolled with Build Green and PG&E for the Energy Upgrade California program would not need to sign a new, would not need to submit a new application. They would simply need to sign a pilot program contractor addendum, be properly licensed, attend an orientation webinar, which is this webinar we're presenting now. They would have to work with a participating rater and then also sign the program terms and conditions. There are a significant amount of knowledge requirements for this multifamily pilot program. We expect participating contractors and raters to be well versed in evaluating multifamily buildings as well as developing appropriate scopes of work. We expect them to be proficient in energy modeling, specifically Energy Pro software. As I mentioned before, participants enrolled in this program will have an opportunity to be mentored on the software with either Build a Green or PG&E staff. Raters and contractors participating in this pilot should be well versed in combustion appliance safety testing and be able to provide excellent customer service to property owners and building occupants that they work for or with. Contractors and raters that submit applications to this multifamily pilot program will not only submit the enrollment documents and then sign the multifamily participation agreement, but we'll also be verifying that they're properly insured. We'll be checking California contractor licenses. We'll be checking for 2 years of business related field experience or CSLB license. And then we'll also be asking for a list of personnel that will have access to customer homes, PG&E customer homes. I do just want to take a moment to identify some of these key participation terms. Part of this program is that contractors and raters agreed to the program terms and conditions. Some of those are listed here. You must assure that all work is performed in a safe and professional manner and that they adhere to the combustion appliance safety test procedures that have been developed for this multifamily pilot. You must abide by all protocols, procedures, and program standards. As I said, some of those are still in development, so participating contractors and raters will play an integral role in shaping that design and finalizing those protocols. You are expected to provide excellent customer service to property owners and managers and comply with license and certification requirements. We do expect all participating contractors and raters in this multifamily pilot program to provide feedback. And then other terms as defined in the Multifamily Pilot Participation Handbook are expected to be executed. We will take a moment now to just briefly summarize the job submission and rebate processing steps. As I mentioned earlier, PG&E has designated a single point of contact. We refer to her as a SPOC. The single point of contact is expected to work with owners and to decide which incentive programs best meet their goals and their budget. This single point of contact will be responsible for connecting those property owners with financing programs either at PG&E or in their local area. They will also assist property owners through the enrollment process as well as the construction and in-field quality assurance processes. And then we also expect them to help owners access appropriate incentives and then mediate owners' concerns or complaints. We'll have the contact information for that single point of contact as well as Build a Green's contact information on one of the final slides. You can access either Build a Green or that single point of contact for more information. Interested property owners would submit an interest form to Build It Green. That interest form will be selected by PG&E and reviewed. Buildings are selected based on a diverse set of criteria to ensure that we have a variety of program configurations, building configurations and climate zones taken into account so that we can test these pilot assumptions before the full program rollout in 2014. Once property owners or raters submit that interest form, they'll be notified if their project is eligible for the pilot, and then they'll most likely be on a phone call with a single point of contact to further evaluate the building for its eligibility, and then make initial contact with the property owner. Liz, do you know offhand if we're still accepting applications for the pilot?
We are.
Great. So if you have an interested property owner, you can submit an interest form. We'll describe where you can download that form. Just keep in mind that work has to be completed before the end of the year, and then do review the eligibility requirements we discussed earlier in the presentation. So the role of the participating rater is summarized on this slide. It by no means encompasses all of the expectations we have for participating raters, but we do expect raters in this pilot program to be competent enough to complete a site walkthrough and testing for combustion safety issues, to determine those baseline conditions, and then help inform the scope of work. We do expect participating pilot raters to be able to use modeling software, specifically Energy Pro, and then select a combination of measures that will meet a minimum of 10% energy savings. We do expect participating raters to be able to recommend energy efficiency measures and then work with property owners or managers and participating pilot contractors to identify an appropriate scope of work. And then finally, those raters will conduct a test out to ensure combustion safety, and then to also identify or confirm the energy savings for the final rebate amount. Some of the expectations for participating contractors in this pilot are listed on this slide. Participating contractors are expected to review that scope of work that the rater may have helped develop, and that contractor will determine its feasibility, maybe modify it slightly, but then install the energy efficiency improvements that they are licensed to install. Contractors will be responsible for all subcontractors that they work with to ensure full compliance with the pilot program. And then finally, any new subcontractors or new contractors wishing to participate in this pilot must apply. So they must pass the screening process, they must hold the applicable licenses and certifications, and take the appropriate training we discussed previously. The job application process is summarized on this slide. For the assessment phase, as I mentioned before, property owners would submit an interest form, and if that building was selected for participation, the single point of contact would conduct a phone-based interview with the property owner. As Liz confirmed, this is a rolling admissions pilot, so if you have a building you're interested in, submit an interest form. If there's some doubt that the work can't be completed before 2013, we will definitely consider the building for the 2014 full rollout in next year. Raters are expected to conduct an ASHRAE Level 2 assessment, including combustion appliance safety testing, and then generate an assessment report. This will be a tool that helps raters working in the multifamily pilot and contractors to inform an appropriate scope of work. We expect this assessment report to include not only recommended upgrades, but combustion appliance safety testing results and remediation plans if necessary. We expect it to include the results of the building model and then summarize the existing conditions of the home or of the building. Build It Green will conduct quality assurance review on that assessment report, and then raters would have an opportunity to submit an assessment incentive request. PG&E would pay that assessment incentive. The job application process in the upgrade phase is summarized here. Participating raters review the scope of work with a contractor and then identify those improvements. And then contractors would install those energy efficiency improvements. Contractors are expected to be licensed for the work that they perform. Any subcontractors or new contractors would have to formally enroll in the multifamily pilot program. One quick correction regarding subcontractors. I did receive confirmation from Liz that the primary contractors installing the work would need to be enrolled. A different process exists for subcontractors. They would not need to be formally enrolled. My apologies for the confusion. So to continue the job application process for the upgrade phase, raters would perform the tests out. They would identify combustion safety and quality control. They would verify 100% of the installed measures and then confirm that any safety issues were appropriately addressed. Building Green would perform a sample field quality assurance verification on select units or buildings. Raters would submit a post-construction incentive request, and then PG&E would pay the post-construction incentive. So that was the overview of the job submission process for both raters and contractors for the assessment and upgrade rebates. We're going to move now into the multifamily pilot mentoring and quality assurance control portion of this presentation. We're approaching the end of the presentation. We're making pretty good time. I'll make sure to go through this part concisely, but then also quickly, because I do want to have an opportunity to answer questions from anyone on the line. Please take a moment now to submit your questions if you have them. Liz and I will be going through them at the end of the presentation. Okay. Safety and quality assurance and quality control for this program is aligned with BPI protocols, so Building Performance Institute protocols, as well as the Home Energy Rating System protocols, specifically HERS 1 and 2. We are leveraging the multifamily HERC protocols for audit and combustion safety. And then we are requiring test-in and test-out combustion appliance safety that we expect to be completed by participating pilot raters. Pre- and post-installation desktop review will be completed by Build It Green for 100% of the applications submitted. And then mitigation and remediation of any hazardous materials generated or encountered during the product is required. Mentoring and in-field like shadowing for energy modeling and installation will be provided by Build It Green. And then we expect Build It Green and PG&E to offer in-field inspections. The field verification inspection process is summarized below. This is the process for Build It Green. The one for PG&E is slightly different, but mostly the same. It's just completed by an outside party. Build It Green will conduct a visual survey and then assess the measures that are claimed to be new in the building. They will compare the quality of measures with the program standards as well as with the scope of work. And they'll retest the home, including repeating the combustion appliance safety tests, the duct cluster tests, and blower door tests, for example. Build It Green staff during the field verification inspection process will also take a moment to review the modeling software inputs, validate all the test out results, and then prepare a quality assurance report noting what they found. So now really quickly we'll review the multifamily pilot health and safety guidelines. Comprehensive safety is a program requirement for this multifamily pilot program. We expect all participants to comply with BPI health and safety standards as well as with OSHA equipment and safety standards. So that means wearing fitted respirators and dust masks and safety glasses whenever appropriate. We expect participating raters to perform combustion appliance safety tests per program guidelines, and all raters and contractors are required to mitigate or remediate hazardous materials discovered during a project. Special note about combustion appliance safety testing. So we did use BPI combustion appliance safety standards. We augmented them with the natural gas and appliance testing protocols. And then we are, I believe, developing CAS action guidelines checklist that contains additional test procedures that contractors and raters will be able to reference in the field. There are some hazardous material considerations we want contractors and raters to be aware of. Things like asbestos and lead paint are potential hazards that contractors have encountered on energy upgrade jobs. Those things, as well as other hazardous materials, should be handled per OSHA guidelines. And contractors and raters are expected to utilize safety procedures and execute them properly whenever hazardous materials are encountered. So we're approaching the end of the presentation. We'll take a moment now to review contact information as well as next steps for the multifamily pilot program. So the program resources and then support contacts for technical assistance and then program questions can be directed to Build It Green. We have a phone number listed here, which is our general office line. Extension 610 is the extension for the multifamily program. The website is builditgreenutility.org. To find our multifamily page, simply select the multifamily pilot program button off to the right-hand side of the screen. And then the PG&E single point of contact, or that SPOC we mentioned earlier. Her name is Karen Contreras, and she's the program manager of this program at at PG&E. Her email appears below, as well as her direct line. We do ask that questions initially be directed to Build It Green. Myself and my colleague Alex, as well as Liz Cordero, will do our best to field your questions and answer all the questions you have. And then if necessary, we'll escalate it to Karen for further review. But Karen is available for more information. The next steps for the enrollment application process are summarized on this screen. If you are a program participant interested in enrolling, visit our multifamily page by navigating to builditgreenutility.org and then selecting the multifamily pilot program button on the right-hand side of the screen. The enrollment links are a little hidden, but they're at the bottom of the page. Click on the Raider appropriate link or the contractor appropriate link to start the application process. And then we mentioned earlier a property owner interest form that can also be found on that same multifamily page. You can also call us directly at 510-590-3360, dial extension 610, and when you speak to either myself or my colleague Alexandra Angol, just ask us for the property owner interest form. We can email it to you or mail it to you if you'd like. If you get a voicemail, just leave us your email, and we'll do our best to email you the information in one business day. So that concludes the multifamily pilot program orientation webinar. I'm going to check in with Liz really quick to see what questions we have submitted, and we'll do our best to answer any questions we can during this presentation. Any questions that we're not able to answer, we'll touch base with our contract manager and provide answers to the questions in a follow-up email that we expect to go out at the beginning of next week. If you wouldn't mind holding one moment while I check in with Liz regarding questions. Okay, Liz, so what's the first question we have submitted?
Will we be able to print a copy of the presentation?
Great. Yeah, you will be. So what we'll do in the follow-up email is we'll provide a link to the recording as well as a PDF version of the slide deck. So you will be able to print the slide deck for your review as well as view the slide deck and view the recording at a later time.
Okay. When you have a staff of 92 field employees, we never know who will be working on the job site. Do we still need to submit all the employees for background checks?
That's a great question. Anybody that has access to those PG&E customer homes must be background checked. Correct me if I'm wrong, Liz.
Only the personnel working on the energy efficiency upgrades in the PG&E program need to be background checked. So if you have 92 field employees, but only 4 are working specifically on any of the upgrade measures, only those 4 need to be background checked.
Right. And so if you have staff that's specifically doing modeling in the office, they don't have to be background checked.
Right. What is the definition of completion by the end of 2013? Okay, so typically the definition of completion is when you get the certificate of final completion. However, it is feasible that construction will continue after all of the energy upgrade efficiency measures have been installed. So I'm going to get back to you on that, exactly what the definition of completion is, because there could be a situation where a project has many other, for example, finishes still to be completed that have nothing to do with the energy efficiency upgrade. You might want to get your construction rebate submitted, application submitted before those particular activities on the construction job is complete. So let me get back to you on that question, and we'll get a very definite definition of completion.
Great. Okay, and that's our last question, is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Liz and I will hang on the line for a few more minutes. If you have questions, please use this time to submit them now in the questions box of the GoToWebinar panel. We'll check back in a few minutes to see if any new questions have been submitted. Otherwise, we've gone through the presentation, so if you are welcome to leave, you'll receive full credit for your participation. Liz and I will stay on the line for a few minutes for any final questions. Please hang tight, and we'll check back in a few minutes. All right, everyone. No new questions have been submitted. If you do have questions, our contact information does appear on this slide. We do ask that questions be directed to Bill DeGreen, myself, or Liz. Will get back to you in 1 business day with any answers. Karen Contreras over at PG&E is available to take questions. My name again is Melina Corona. I work for Bill DeGreen. I was joined today by Liz Cordero, the Program Manager for the Multifamily Pilot. This concludes the orientation webinar. Thank you very much for your attendance. You will receive a follow-up email at the beginning of next week with the link to the slides and a link to the recording. Enjoy the rest of your morning, and thank you again.